So you probably clicked on this video because you're confused and you're seeing a lot of stuff, online about should I save money, where to invest, all this type of stuff. In this video, I'm just going to break down exactly what happens to your savings if you never own assets and the damages inflation can have on creating wealth. So remember, this is my own research, not financial advice. Please do your own work. So cash loses value every single year. So inflation typically ranges between 2 and 3%. Now that is from CPI reports that central banks do release. Do I put much weight on them? Not really, no. I think since after COVID, when they printed, I think it was 40% of the money supply in the US. I'm not sure if it was globally. You'll have to fact check me on that. But things seem to be getting much more expensive year on year. And if your wages, if your savings, if your investments aren't, beating that, you're actually losing money. So if you're staying the same, you're actually getting worse. I think there's like a saying, you're either getting better or worse, because if you're staying the same, you're getting worse. Same works here. So if your money is the same, it's actually getting worse because of inflation. So every year you wait to invest, every day you wait, you're actually being damaged by inflation. And we've got obviously 10,000 saved in 2000 is worth roughly 6k today, which is not very good. So 97% drop over the last 100 years in $100. So this is a pretty horrific chart and not very good, but it just shows the fact that if you're working for 60, 70 years of your life, you need to start thinking now, how can I put myself ahead in a decade's time, 20 years, 30 years, all that type of stuff. So you really need to be thinking of this, but the fact you're watching this video, you're clearly doing research, you're aware, which is a good thing. It means you're going to set yourself up in a better position to people who aren't thinking about this. So there's two groups. So you've got the K-shaped economy. I've spoken about this in some other videos. You've got the upper arm and the lower arm. So the upper arm, essentially, in short, have ownership. They own stocks, property, businesses. The lower arm don't. They're paycheck to paycheck. They're being squeezed. You've probably heard the middle class are getting squeezed. That's because their wages aren't really increasing. They're staying the same. The savings are being eroded. And as costs are going up, inflation's, not working in their favour. They're just being squeezed. They're, thinking, oh, I'm doing quite well for myself. I've got this good paying job. But if you're not actually increasing that year on year, it's getting worse and worse. It's like a never ending treadmill. And if you're not getting fitter and faster, the treadmill's going to get fitter and faster, if that makes sense. So you need to have ownership, in short, in assets, businesses, all that type of stuff. That's going to, do the work for you. So the longer you wait, the harder it gets to catch up. So asset owners accumulated wealth twice as fast post-COVID. And as we mentioned earlier, the dollar's purchasing power has dropped significantly over the last 100 years. Almost 40% of people essentially, paycheck to paycheck, or 40% of income spent on rent is by non-asset owners. So if half of your money is just going on rent, you're always going to have to think, all right, cool, how can I cut back costs? But I wouldn't actually look at cutting back costs. I would look at, okay, cool, how can I increase my income by learning new skills, by working a couple more hours? If you've got to spare 2 hours on an evening, instead of watching a show or something, how can I learn about investing? How can I learn a skill? And that's going to really help and get you in that upper arm, because you'll have more money, you'll have more stuff to buy assets with, essentially. And then, inflation this year has got up to 3.8%. Obviously, there's been a lot of things you can't control, and this is the thing, right? You can't control any of this, but you've just got to think, right, how can I position myself to be on that ownership part of the K-shaped economy? And that is by increasing your skills, increasing your income, all those things, and increasing that year on year. Because skills compound as well. So if you learn a skill to make more money, or you learn about investing, you read about it, whatnot, you're just going to keep getting better if you keep doing it, right? Or it could be you learn to sell stuff on TikTok, you start a YouTube channel. It's going to keep stacking over the long run, and you just got to zoom out, and that's going to really put you in a good spot. But the longer you wait, or the longer you take to get started, it's actually really affecting you. So look, inflation can do the work for you when you own assets. So assets grow with inflation. So property, stocks, commodities tend to rise as purchasing power tends to fall. So you've got like cash going down, assets tend to go up. Compounding does the work for you, as I mentioned earlier. You've got to think in decades. Your cash can't be sitting in a checking account, in a even a savings account, they're just not good enough. You need to be getting double-digit returns year on year, really, in your portfolio. Now, some years you may have negative, or you may be like 3%, but then other years you may have 30, 40%. So you need it to average out at like double-digit percentage returns, so you can be on that upper arm of the K, and your wealth can start to build year on year, and that'll happen from owning assets, getting better at skills, and all that type of stuff. So yeah, look, every year you decide to save cash, you're choosing to be part of that, lower arm of the K. You don't need to be an expert though. You need a process of okay, cool, this is what I'm going to learn, this is what I'm going to commit to, and you just need to stick to it and apply it consistently. I have my process of how I invest and so on. I stick to that religiously. I will keep showing up, I will keep doing the work to get better at that process. And the best time to start was yesterday, right? And you don't need to watch every price move. You don't need to read too much into the news. It's all irrelevant. You just need to have a process, a way of doing things, and you just need to keep doing it. And then once you have some data, improve, and then go again. And that's what you need to do. You just need to, be conscious of, okay, cool, inflation's eating away at my savings, even at my wages, all these things. How can I get better to almost, let's say, inflation's going up like that? How can I go up like that? And then over time, really kind of be moving away from it, right? So that's what you need to be considering. So all the data referenced in this presentation there. Remember, you've got to do your own research. If you want to keep up to date with markets and everything, I do run a free newsletter, so the link for that will be in the description. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.